How's it going, everybody? I'm Dan. Over to my, my webcam's right. I don't know. It's Chris, all the way in Denver, Colorado. Chris Malone, and I repped the Texans. I thought Chris was gonna rep the Jets
Oh
for
no, I
this
am.
first ever.
Yeah,
Are
you
you?
gotta understand. Gotham City Football Club.
Oh, that's so cool that they're called Gotham City.
Damn right.
That's fucking awesome.
That's why when people when it gets to the comic books, everyone's like, "Well, Superman's like you need to hold on really quickly. There's only one Gotham City, and you better know Batman. It's New York,
What would Metropolis be?
Chicago,
Metropolis,
Chicago, supposedly.
Chicago?
Yeah, and depending on what movie and what universe and all the other stuff you're looking at, sometimes like I think it was the Snyder ones with Justice League and all that shit that they're right across the bay from each other.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, in in most other worlds, it's they're across the country from each other.
yeah. Okay.
So
I mean, I think in Nolan's Dark Knight Rises, Gotham was Pittsburgh, which was
yeah,
very weird.
it was Philadelphia.
Yeah,
I
so
think it's
like,
what I think it was supposed to be.
so Batman's running around investigating Roethlisberger rapes. Okay, so.
Base of fucking Lee, man.
So here we go. So this episode we're gonna pick we're gonna do a full, not a full analysis. Well, we're gonna do analysis of the big games, the Thursday night football, Sunday night football, and Monday night football. We're gonna talk a big piece of news happening this week, and then we're gonna have a talking point on one little thing going on in the NFL, and then we're gonna make quick picks around week one. And then tomorrow at 1 p.m., Chris and I are in the same fantasy league that I started. It's been a mess so far before we even get to the fucking draft.
Well,
Um,
is this the same one you've been doing with all those same guys, or is it a
yeah,
brand new one?
no, the Gridiron Mafia.
Okay,
I
this is all
started
the
that one,
okay.
and then so people would quit, so I brought in a new person, and I would just randomize the draft order so that no one came in with the fifth pick. It'd
Yeah,
be fair for everybody, and apparently that wasn't
yeah.
fair. That wasn't.
And then well, the thing is that what can you do? Because then it leaves the 14th pick. Like, hey, we need to fill it. We need to fill in. Great. What's my pick? 14th. I'm good. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Like, I don't care. Like, if I went, I think my first initial pick was 8, then it went to 13, and I'm like, fine, whatever. I've won fantasy leagues before. I can draft a winning team at pick 13. It's okay. And
I
then,
I cannot. I'm the 14th pick. I'm gonna have a miserable time. But that's tomorrow at 1. I'm gonna try to stream it. If we don't stream it, we don't stream it. What time is it right now? 11. All right, so let's get into the opening game of the season, which is
yes, sir.
Green Bay
Packers,
Packers
Bears.
and the
Yeah.
Bears. How do we go about this? Okay, well, first of all, who are you more excited to see? The Packers, how the Packers are, or how the Bears are this year? This first game.
The Packers.
The Packers. Why
Yeah,
is that?
it's got to be the Packers. Well, it's Lafleur's first head coaching gig. He's going with Rodgers, who's only ever known Mike McCarthy. So you get to see how Rodgers is going to perform. You're going to see how he performs not only under the new coach, but under a new offensive system.
Yeah.
So the word on the street is that Lafleur is going to allow, because one of the biggest questions is Rodgers going to be allowed to audible as much as he does and improvise as much as he normally does at the line of scrimmage, which is what he's known for. When you think about it, he's just like Peyton Manning. He's just like any number of the greats, name them, who walk up there and go, I don't like this, and just immediately change it to something, and next thing you know, it's a 40-yard touchdown. And people were worried because LaFleur, coming from the McVay coaching tree, it's hard to believe that 34-year-old McVay has a coaching tree already. Um,
Yeah, right.
but he, they're worried that he was going to try to strong arm it and try to be, I'm a head coach, do what I say. Uh, the wise move, and supposedly was going to happen, is that Rodgers doesn't have free reign, but he's not going to get reprimanded if a play is called and he changes it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's hard to call, but the thing is, they're all healthy, and
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at the injury report right now for both the Packers and the Bears, and the two guys for on the Packers that are casual football fans aren't going to know. Inside linebacker Oren Burks and wide receiver Darius Shepard are out for the Packers.
Yeah.
Questionable is I'm going to have so much fun with these. Is Kadar Hallman. Uh,
Terra tricks, fly Terra tricks.
No, the biggest name that of anyone that's going to be out is on the Bears, and that's Trey Burton, the tight end, the infamous Philly Philly surprise, Philly special touchdown throw in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's listed as questionable with a groin injury, but that's about it. And there's Rashad Coward and Bilal Nichols.
See, I'm looking forward to the Bears this year, because now we get Khalil Mack for a full season. Mitch Trubisky's coming in there. Everybody's healthy, as you said, except for Burton. I believe this is being played in Chicago.
I believe so too. Yeah.
So I'm hoping the Bears are an actual contender in the NFC this year. It seemed like last year they could have been, but with all the injuries they had, and then they didn't. They needed a couple of ingredients in the off season. They got those ingredients. I'm hoping for a good game. I mean, I'm not gonna see it. I gotta work, but I'm hoping that it's a good game. What do you think? Final score on the end of this game?
I mean, that's incredibly hard to say because I kind of disagree to a point about Chicago's offense being any better. I mean, they did get some,
still got a good running back. Still got a good running back.
Well,
still,
they supposedly have two because apparently David Montgomery, the guy that drafted this year, is looking like a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a stud in training camp. He looks like a stud in preseason games. That's great when you're playing against third and fourth stringers and guys that aren't even on teams right now. You better look like a stud if you're drafted in the NFL. Even if you're drafted in the 7th round, you better be playing better than the undrafted free agents.
Does the Packers defense have anybody that could stop Chicago's, I guess, their two-headed monster in David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen?
The thing is that I think what you're going to see here, the Packers don't have, their defense is not, they don't really have a defense.
R.I.P. Packers defense.
Yeah, it's so what I think what their whole, if they're going to win games, if they're going to get into the playoffs, they're going to go deep and even win a Super Bowl this year. They're going to have to basically come out and dominate offensively every single game. They're going to get, if they can win the toss, they're going to get the ball first. They're going to score first.
Touchdown every drive, basically.
They have to outpace everybody. They don't have the secondary, the linebackers. And here's the thing. People forget Clay Matthews is not on the Packers anymore. Not that he was doing anything massive with them the past few years, because obviously, Father Time catches up with you. I can't name one person on their defense that's like, Clinton Dix has been left last year. Shields is gone. Matthews is gone. That's
the funniest name in NFL history, by the way.
It's a nickname, actually. I don't even think his. I'm trying to remember what his actual name is.
Clinton killed Epstein. How about that?
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, Jesus.
Make your complaints at rednebulapictures@gmail.com.
Oh, man.
No, but you're right. All those names from Green Bay's defense are the names people would recognize. They're gone now.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm going to have to look up with you. I don't even know who's on the Packers.
That's what I mean. There's no, I can't think. I'm straining my mind trying to think of anyone of name on that team anymore, on that defense at least. Because you can name almost their entire offense. I mean, outside of one or two people on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But, you can name pretty much all three of their running backs. You can name, probably their starting 4 wide receivers. They still have Jimmy Graham there. Remember him?
Yeah.
it's, and then obviously Rodgers, but like the defense, I mean, nope.
I don't know. I see. I see Chicago winning this. I literally googled Packers defense squad and like nothing. So I'm gonna go with Chicago. 28 Packers. 14. Go with that.
I would take 35-14 Green Bay.
Ooh, okay.
Because here's the thing is that so while the Packers offense is so potent, it's going to wear you down as a defense.
True.
And no matter how good you are, and this is a rivalry game too, and that's the one thing like you can never, it's hard to call rivalry games because teams seem to play each other extra hard when it comes to that, especially when it's a season opener. So Khalil Mack's probably going to have like 3 or 4 sacks. I mean, it's basically what you're expecting.
Yeah, he doesn't just get sacks now. He forces fumbles, makes interceptions.
Well, and the thing is too is that right now is that if Green Bay can get up 10 points, 14 points, say 2 touchdowns, you're gonna take away the Bears' primary weapons, which is their running game. Now, Tariq Cohen is great. He's a great pass-catching running back, and they say David Montgomery is going to be equally as well. He should be a 3-down back, but they don't. They have Anthony Miller, who's a rookie, who's looking all right as a wide receiver. I believe Allen Robinson is still there, but not that you'd know it. They don't have wide receivers, so if they have to start playing catch-up, they're not going to be able to. So you're going to have to watch the Bears every chance they get. Ball control. They're going to run, let that defense rest. So then when the Packers go out there and grind them out and get a touchdown, they can run. As long as the Bears can put points on the board, and they have to score touchdowns. They can't just score field goals.
Yeah,
because Green Bay will score touchdowns.
I'm making them. I'm giving them an optimistic thing, saying that they're going to score 4 touchdowns at 28. But I think because it's going to be at home. The Khalil Mack effect. I think 2 of those touchdowns might be defensive, and then 2 of them offensive.
I think this will be.
Also, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt.
But with the handlebar mustache of power, he can't get hurt.
No, they just inject him full of something in the back and then send him back out on the field.
He's not Tony Romo.
28-14. I'm still standing by it. 28-14, and you have 35-14.
I think at least one of those touchdowns from the Bears will come in garbage time when the Packers have already run away with it.
Oh wow! Damn, just shitting on the Bears today, Chris.
I think Devontae Adams is going to go off for at least 2 touchdowns, easily over 100 yards. They are. And Aaron Jones is back, so they have a healthy running game. There's no reason the Packers shouldn't. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy win. I think it's going to be a physical contest, but I do believe that it will be said and done at the top of the 4th quarter.
Who knows? We have these scores of like this person by a couple of touchdowns and this team by a couple of touchdowns. It could be just a field goal for all we know.
I'm just an idiot. Like I don't know. I'm just.
That makes me as me as well, sir. All right, and then our next game, a Sunday night game, we have the Patriots against the Steelers Sunday night. Ooh, what are you looking forward to? Which one? Oh, come on, Jets fans. Jets fan, what are you most excited about with these 2 teams this year?
The demise of Tom Brady. But I've been saying that for the past 10 years. And that's the thing, and I've a lot of people are calling this already for the Patriots, and I mean, I believe they are favorites. I don't know what
I'm pretty sure the Patriots take this one too.
Well, the thing is, the reason everyone's picking the Patriots right now is because the Steelers are such an unknown right now because it's actually the first year. I just saw this earlier. I think since 2012, I think they said, or 13, that Ben Roethlisberger is playing a game without Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown. So you got Juju Smith-Schuster and you got James Conner, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 young guys that obviously tore it up last year. Connor wore down a little bit at the end of the year, but I think it was also conditioning, like, oh my God, I'm the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's do this. And, but trust me, he's been training and preparing this whole off season. Like, he's the starter, and he is, and he's going to go in there. And I think he'll easily have over 150 yards, all-purpose yards, receiving and rushing. He'll probably have at least one touchdown. I'm going to say it's probably receiving. I don't know if it'll be a rushing touchdown, but it'll probably be receiving. Juju, though, is one thing that a lot of people are worried about, because a lot of people were considering his success last year having to be because Antonio Brown's on the other side of you, taking those double teams and so on and so forth. And when, fat lot of good that did, because Antonio Brown still had, 14 touchdowns last year?
That's true.
So with Juju being the number one now, he's still incredibly skilled. Like, you're going to have to double him. And I guarantee you it's not the way the Steelers are much like the Packers and much like the Patriots in this case, where they just can pick up wide receivers that no one's heard of, that no one gave a crap about in the draft, and turn them into damn superstars. It's amazing. And that's why, people forget, you went from, I think the last Steeler Super Bowl, it was Santonio Holmes and
Plaxico, wasn't it?
Plaxico Burress, yeah. And so you had those two, and then you think about it, they traded Holmes to the Jets, and that was obviously a fiasco. Plaxico Burress ended up on the Giants, won a Super Bowl with them.
And then shot himself in the leg.
Shot himself in the leg, yeah, like a dumbass.
And went to jail. Went to jail for that.
Yeah, you know why? Because it wasn't de Blasio at that point. It was, oh, God. I don't think it was Giuliani still. But any which way, whoever the mayor was at the time was like, I don't care who the hell you are. We have strict gun laws, and not only that, he should have been penalized purely for being a dumbass, because he had a handgun tucked into the waistband of his sweatpants. It wasn't even like jeans or anything with belt loops or anything.
Where
that
I would keep my gun.
It was and it slipped into his pants and slid down, and he went to grab it and he shot himself. You deserve to go to jail for being a moron.
Wow.
So anyways, back to the point though. Right. So then you think about it. They went seamlessly from all that to Antonio Brown. They had Hines Ward, and they just kept going. And then Hines Ward left, and Antonio Brown. And they just kept building. Remember Mike Wallace? They had these guys that just how do you keep finding these guys and just kind of going, we never tell.
No, it's their scouting department's really good at that.
That goes to the Packers too. When you really think about it, it was Donald Driver for the longest time, and then you started getting guys like who was the guy right before Nelson? Greg Jennings, and then you got Jordy Nelson, and then you had all these other guys. So these guys
Randall Cobb,
and then Devontae Adams. Now it's these are guys that no one was high on. Most of these guys were not first round draft picks, and they're some of them are probably going to be Hall of Famers, and that's why you look at the Patriots. They didn't even draft Wes Welker.
Yeah,
they picked him up from the Dolphins and turned him into an effing superstar, and he rolls into Denver and still performs at a high level there. But it's that's the Betty White joke.
Jeez.
It's not even a joke, man. I don't know what's in the water up there, but
That's the thing with the Patriots. I can never look at the Patriots roster and go, oh, it's not going to be that good this year, because they keep proving us wrong the past 10 years.
Brady's going to fall off.
In fact, when someone says before the beginning of the preseason, hey, who you got in the Super Bowl? And I just go with Patriots by default at this point.
Yeah.
I really do. With this game, Tom Brady, there's no signs of anybody slowing down on the Patriots. Meanwhile, the Steelers look very promising, especially with T.J. Watt. J.J. Watt's little brother on the defense. On the defensive side of things, going to have a bigger role in the defense. But I still see the Patriots winning this by 3, 27-24 or 31-28, one of the two. But Patriots by 3.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think that's what they're favored by. It's not. They're not supposed to sit here and blow out the Steelers because this is usually a pretty big rivalry, and I mean, obviously, most of the time they're playing each other in the AFC Championship game. Um, and the thing is that
Could be a preview of this year's AFC Championship game.
could it possibly? Yeah, possibly. It really just depends on how things shake out in the AFC North because right now the Browns are, all the hype and everything about them.
And we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. The hype is justified in my mind. I mean, because it can go one of two ways. It can either blow up in their face and they can fall apart with all the personalities and everything else going on there, or they can go here and just go on a tear and win 5 Super Bowls in a row.
Well, you're not going to get anything from the AFC South. That's for damn sure.
You're basically going to get the Texans. That's what you're getting out of the AFC.
In a perfect world, maybe, but
yeah. We'll
talk about that.
I'm not at all afraid of.
Actually, our next game, we're going to talk about the Texans. I do feel.
Yeah, I'm about to say I'm not at all worried about anyone else in the AFC South, especially now that Luck's gone. I mean, Brissett's not a bad quarterback, but we also have never seen him play 16 games as the undisputed starter. You know what I mean? Like he is now the face of the franchise. So
poor bastard. So what score do you have on the Patriots and Steelers, and then we'll move on to the Monday Night Football games.
I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go 20. I'm gonna go 20-17 Steelers.
So still 3-point deficit. Okay.
Yeah, I'm calling the Steelers on that one just because I don't want to give the Patriots anything.
All right, so the first Monday Night Football game is the Saints versus the Texans. So you like my new hat, by the way? Do you like my new hat?
You got it. Oh, nice. Is it? Is it?
It's the black and white Texans one.
Nice.
So I got this hat, and then right when I walked out of a Houston Dick's Sporting Goods, my phone just went off, and it was all the trades that day. And then I was like, well, I can't just take this hat back. I can't just put this in. So it's obvious that the Texans they lost Lamar Miller to a torn ACL in preseason game, in the last preseason game, or the preseason game against the Cowboys. And it's obvious that they just went, okay, fuck it, you know what? We're going to do a strict passing offense. Let's grab a left tackle to protect Deshaun Watson. Let's get another weapon for Deshaun Watson and Kenny Stills. And with running back, we can do kind of like an average two-headed monster with Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde, and then... But the draft picks that they gave up, yeah. But they did get rid of Clowney. And the reason they did get rid of Clowney is probably for next year's offseason and for next year's free agency. A lot of people are going to be available. Bobby Wagner from the Seahawks. Kareem Hunt is going to be available next year. There's a lot of good people next year in the free agency. They get rid of Clowney. Now they've saved some cap room for next year's free agency. But they could still do some damage this year if the passing offense does work. However, it's the Saints. I don't see my Texans winning this Saints game. I do see the Texans not doing too bad this year. Probably putting up another 11-5 season with an elimination in the playoffs. But I don't see any Super Bowl bound Texan stuff this year. But I do think they lose against the Saints. Probably 21-14. I'm just going to go with that. No, it's going to be a high throwing affair. We're going to go 42-35 Saints.
Yeah, about to say, when you said that first score, I was like...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot it was the Saints. But yeah, 42-35, and the Saints are going to be using a lot of what the Texans don't have, which is just an explosive running game with Alvin Kamara. And then don't forget, they could check down, throw screens, throw it to Alvin Kamara. And the Texans don't have that. I'm sorry, Duke Johnson and Carlos Hyde cannot do what Alvin Kamara does if they had clones. And it was just like four Duke Johnsons and 4 Carlos Hydes. It's just, yeah, it's 35. What'd I say? 42-35 Saints?
Yeah.
I see that happening.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. It is going to be high scoring. I could see them both scoring easily, being in the 40s. Mainly, and my biggest apprehension with the Saints is that we don't quite know exactly how Kamara is going to hold up now that he is the man in New Orleans, because for a long, I mean, I don't know, however many years, 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, it was him and Ingram.
Yeah.
And Ingram is, was a plotter. He was between the tackle guy, grinded out. But Ingram could also catch passes as well. So you had this other guy that.
How's it going, Fortnite Winter 12? Hold on, Fortnite Winter 12 coming in here in the Twitch chat. Saints defense should be better this year. Don't see Texans getting 35 in New Orleans. The only reason I'm giving Texans 35, Fortnite Winter, is because I'm a Texans fan. But you're more than likely right. The only way I see Texans actually getting touchdowns is getting the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, which they can probably do like twice. But like, I got to give my Texans at least 35 points to the Saints 42 points, just because I love my Texans. But you're probably right, Fortnite Winner. And welcome, I'm Dan, this is Chris, Armchair Gridiron. Our first episode. And we're going to do this weekly after every week, before every NFL week. Anyway, Chris, go ahead with your point.
Yeah, no, actually, I'll talk about that with the Saints defense, too, is that people look at the final scores, when you say 42-35, and they're like, no, there's no way they'll give it up. And the thing is, you forget, and people forget all that often, is that this garbage time. And when you get up 42-14 or 42-21, you start playing prevent. So you start getting, like, Watson can come out there and easily throw over 400 yards and probably throw three touchdowns.
Yeah.
Losing effort because they have to. Now, that's what I'm saying. Like, right, with Michael Thomas, when you really think about it, their whole offense runs through Breeze, Thomas, and Kamara. You lose one of those guys, maybe not Breeze, because Bridgewater is a hell of a good quarterback. And
no, because they got that other receiver. They got that other receiver too. The Saints do. What's his name? Oh, hold on.
I'm looking it up too.
Saints wide receivers. Like, they have a good number 2 and number 3 slot. Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn Jr., Traquan Smith. Who's their tight end? They also have a great tight end.
Jared Cook.
Jared Cook. Yeah. The Saints have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, but Ted Ginn is his hands have always been suspect. He's more of a special team returner guy who has deep ball ability, but that's rare. He had his time here or there in the past, but he's also in his 30s. He's lost his step. His hands are not any better. Traquan Smith, he's had moments too, where he's supposed to have moments. And that's the thing. Like, if you really look at like Kamara, if something would happen to Kamara, your starting running back is Latavius Murray. And Murray's a good running back, but he's also not Alvin Kamara.
That's true.
So you're looking at, like, their starting trio is great. They're one injury away at either running back or wide receiver to becoming very one-dimensional. Breeze can make things happen, but when you think about it, this whole time Breeze was with the Saints, he's had Colston, he's always had that stud.
Yeah.
And if you remove his studs, like, he's not the magic maker. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady, where it doesn't matter who you put on the field, they're going to get the ball out there and get 300 yards or wherever it is on the year.
I think Monday's game, they'll be fine. Monday's game.
Well, you say that, though. Like, I mean, I remember all those years ago, I finally drafted Adrian Peterson #1 overall, and I was like, yay! And he got hurt in the first game, and I'm like, and
I think 3 or 4 Saints starters, including Drew Brees, I think they could get hurt and still put up a good game against the Texans. I don't think if you're a Texans fan, for the deal to happen the way it happened, and then we're going into the regular season, and our first game is the Saints, I would not be happy right now. If our first game was against the Colts, or against one of the division rivals, okay, cool. But this game, if we walk out with a win in this game, which I'm sure we won't, it'll be a big momentum boost. But I don't see it happening.
Well, and the thing
too many changes, and there's not enough explosiveness on the defensive side anymore. We don't have Clowney, and we don't have a suitable Clowney replacement. So now it's just J.J. Watt, who can't get through offensive lines like he used to.
Right.
Just going to be a bunch of signs of the cross while I'm watching this game.
You also you forgot, because part of those trades, they also got Kenny Stills from the Dolphins.
Kenny Stills is good, but
no, but that's you don't know where I'm going with it though.
Yeah.
If your defense is weak, like they're kind of projected to be, right? They lost the Honey Badger. They got rid of Clowney. Their defense is somewhat rebuilding, but they're also acting like they kind of mortgaged their future, right, by trading away all their draft picks. So they're hoping that
we'll get to that. We'll get to that Fortnite winner. Just a second.
So you get Kenny Stills, who takes the top off of defense. That's his point, right? He's your deep threat. Will Fuller, if he can stay healthy, we've all seen what he can do when he's healthy, being able to stretch.
But he gets hurt every year. Is Will Fuller's problem?
Yeah,
and it's always in the first 5 games.
But that's why the Kenny Stills pickup is so important, is because they keep losing that big deep threat, and it shortens their field every single year.
Yeah.
So if you go get this other guy, Kenny Stills, who you say one of them gets hurt or Will Fuller gets hurt, which, let's just put it this way, is possible. You have a backup deep threat who can catch those 30, 40, 50-yard bombs, while you have Hopkins working the other side or working the middle. So I think their offense will be dynamic, and especially right now, since everyone is healthy, it is feasible that Watson in his is it his third year or fourth year? It's his third year, right?
Sure.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Third, fourth.
But O'Brien is developing him to. He's not necessarily a gunslinger, but you've seen the improvement from year 1 to year 2, and I'm eager to see what he's going to be from year 2 to year 3. And you just gave him another deep threat. So the idea of them putting up 35 points, even in garbage time, is not at all unheard of. Or even,
it's not.
And the thing is, they could win this.
Yeah.
They easily could win this game, but it would take turnovers, and it would take just a hell of a performance from Watson, which we've seen him be capable.
It would take something it would take plays on defense that they can't do. I don't know. I'm not really optimistic about it. I'm really not. You're saying like we could, and it excites me a little bit, but I know what I'm walking into Monday.
No, don't get me wrong. If I was playing the Saints in the first game of the year, I'd be like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Seriously? It's like if we had to roll in and play the Patriots in game 1, like, great, appreciate it.
Fortnite winner 12 wants to know our thoughts. He says, I think Murray, I think he's talking about Kyler Murray, is a little underrated in fantasy this year.
He might be talking about
Latavius Murray?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just go with both. Do you think Latavius Murray is a little underrated this year in fantasy? Also, hello, King Retro Queen Paris. How's it going?
That's a name.
Yeah. No, I love King Retro. I think Murray is a little underrated. So let's go with both. Latavius Murray and Kyler Murray. Are they both? Because Kyler Murray right now is taking over for the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. He is the quarterback. Let's go with Latavius Murray first. Do you think he's underrated in fantasy this year?
I think he's going to get drafted in every single league. I have him in I have 5 teams right now. I have him in 2 of them, because the thing is that outside of him just being a valuable handcuff, when you have seen him in the position where he had to start, where he's had his moments with the Vikings, where he's had his moments with the Raiders, he's done well. He hasn't destroyed it. He hasn't torn it up, but he's been a consistent presence. He'll get you that 20 for 80, maybe 3 catches for 20. Like he's a consistent running back, but he's not a superstar. So you should have him on your team, especially now that he's in, I'm pretty sure for the first time in his career, a high-powered offense. I can't think of any of the other offenses he's been in that would be construed as a high-power offense. He's now playing with Drew Brees. He's not playing with Derek Carr and I think it was Keenum when he was with the Vikings. So it's like, it's hard to know what he's going to do in that offense and what his role is going to be. He's also a little older. He's not he's not fresh out of college. He's not 2 or 3 years in the league. He's been in for a few years, and he's on his third, fourth team. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So you should have him on your team as a handcuff to Kamara, especially if you're drafting in that top 3 or 4, because I've seen some stupid things in fantasy. In the actual draft, mock drafts are different, but when you actually start drafting and people start taking quarterbacks in the top 5 picks, people start falling. It's hysterical.
Kickers in the 3rd round.
I'm going to tell you this, and then we can move on with it. But someone took Kyler Murray at the 7th or 8th pick in a
terrible
league, and it was a PPR league, and I'm like,
no, he should be like your 2nd or 3rd quarterback drafted. You don't know how he's going to go with Arizona's offense. Decent preseason, but once the regular season gets kicked off, I wouldn't draft Kyler Murray with a top 10.
No, and the thing is that and that's twofold, because he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Because and rookie quarterbacks do not have the best track record. It's people forget that Peyton Manning had a lot of interceptions his first year.
Ooh, thank God fantasy football wasn't around back in those days.
So in the second part of that is that it's also Kingsbury. He's never been an NFL head coach. He's never called an NFL game ever. And they're like, well, everything you're seeing in preseason, you're not gonna see in the regular season. So it's all brand new. We're gonna open up the playbook, and it's like, do you have a playbook? Like, it's you're trying to act all mysterious and everything, and it could just be a smokescreen. He could have absolutely no idea what he's doing, and you got this young kid in there who's gonna make mistakes, even with a superior head coach. But we don't know what Kingsbury's going to be, and we don't know what Murray's going to be. So if you're taking him in the first round, you've already lost your draft.
Don't take him in the first round. Fortnite Winner says Saints 0-5 last 5 years in season openers. Well, that makes me feel better, Fortnite Winner. And puns for all. Always beat on the Houston wife beaters over the New Orleans domestic violators. Okay. Well, I mean, that's one way of calling the teams what they are. But I guess he's saying Houston over New Orleans, so I appreciate that puns. All right, and then the final Monday night game. I don't know. I have no idea. The final Monday night game, Raiders versus Broncos.
Yeah, that's obviously being in Colorado like I am now. I have to get used to these new rivalries.
This is your hometown team.
Yeah, this is in my neck of the woods.
Your neck of the woods.
So, I mean, I think everyone's excited to see, just in general, football fans want to see what Antonio Brown's going to do after all the bullshit and everything with the helmet.
Yeah, the helmet, yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger, we were never really friends, all the other horse shit.
We were never. He wouldn't let me.
Did you see that? Ben Roethlisberger was like, I wish things had happened differently. I know I lost a friendship, and Antonio Brown shot right back and was like, we were never friends.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Well, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is a rapist, so I wouldn't,
accused, never convicted.
He settled. He settled.
No, see, that's always the issue with it. You can settle all you want because it keeps things out, it makes things go away because
he settled.
You start having millions of dollars, people come out and start accusing you of shit. Like Michael Jackson settled, but we all seem to think that he was actually guilty without actually being convicted of anything. He's not Darren Sharper, who was like, ooh, we actually caught you right.
Oh no, Darren Sharper was 20
fucking years.
Darren Sharper was really
go to fuck to jail. So that's the thing.
If we're gonna put it on the Darren Sharper scale, I guess Ben Roethlisberger's innocent.
That's what I mean. And that's the funny thing. And I'm not defending Roethlisberger in any way, shape, or form if he actually did these things. But I remember reading, it was a few years ago about and this is why it kind of makes you roll your eyes because. It was right. It's 2 years after his first Super Bowl win against the Seahawks. I think, what was that, 2006, 2005, one of those two. It's when Sean Alexander was still the Seahawks running back and Matt Hasselbeck was still their quarterback.
Jesus, that was a long time ago.
Yes, it was. But he was in his whatever home in Georgia, and it was a house party. and he invited a girl up to see the new like sheets on his bed, or like, you want to come see the new blanket I have on my in my master bedroom. And she's like, sure. And it's like, um, and then supposedly something happened, and that's where you have your
People just need to be upfront. Hey, do you want to go up to my bedroom and have sex?
and that's
None of this. Do you want to see my candles?
Yeah.
Do you want to see none of that shit?
He's a dumb jock, right? That's what this is. Is that most of these guys? Have you heard most of these guys? Like, it's funny when they get towards the end of their career and they're like, maybe I'll go into broadcasting. Jason, and
he's so terrible.
They're brain mushed, but some of them, like Nate Burleson, is eloquent and can actually speak and get points across. But Roethlisberger is a jock and probably not very capable of normal life critical thinking, and went, ooh, girl wants to go see my blanket. Wink. It's like, you've already been accused of this once. Maybe don't do this.
Chivalry and charm are totally dead. Just be like, hey, you want to go up to my bedroom?
Yeah.
And have some sex.
Nowadays, it has to be. You have to not only say, "Hey, do you want to go have sex?" Please say yes. Don't say mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I need affirmation, and then once we're up there, you need to affirm again. Can you sign this document? It's.
And also, what do you think of my sheets? Then that's when you throw out the sheets. Puns thinks the Oakland inmates will crush the Denver DWIs.
Okay. It's very possible.
I like to think the DWIs happen also on a horse. I like to think that also happens.
I mean, well, actually, I can't remember what this was. It was something, obviously, it happened in Texas, because of course it did. The guy's drunk and he's leaving the bar, and the cops try to pull him over, and they're like, "Sir, you can't ride your horse home drunk." And the guy's response was, "The horse knows how to get home."
That was Texas. That sounds like Texas.
Yeah, and of course it does, because Texas.
I feel like that's Texas. Who wins this? Broncos?
No.
Who's their quarterback? Flacco.
Flacco's their quarterback.
Flacco wins this with the Broncos.
So if they win, it's good. So this is actually going to be a really good one, because again, back to the point about it being.
Fortnite winner thinks Raiders and Broncos will fight for last place in their division. Is that possible? That's a possible scenario. Is the battle of last place in the division?
No.
I'm with you, Fortnite winner.
There is, because right now these teams are. If the Broncos are going to win this, they need their wide receiver core to come off and have a hell of a good game, because Emmanuel Sanders is coming off that Achilles rupture. He looked pretty good in the preseason. However, he is older, and coming off an Achilles rupture, he was that guy, that slot guy that would go across the middle, that would do those deeper routes. You're not as fast, you don't have the explosion as you did. Like, doesn't matter how good your rehab is, you rupture your Achilles at any point in your life, you're going to lose something. So a lot of their success is going to come off of Cortland Sutton, who's going to be their second-year wide receiver. He should step up and have a good year. I'm not saying he's going to destroy anything, but he could easily have 1,000, 1,100-yard year now that he has Flacco throwing the ball, not Keenum or Simeon or anyone else. Philip Lindsay, we know what he was last year. We'll see what he's going to do this year. His success depends on both Flacco and the wide receivers, because if they can't get the passing game going and Flacco has a year like he had the past 2 or 3 with the Ravens, Lindsay's going to fall flat, because that's going to be the entirety of their offense. The Raiders are going to be my pick to win this game, mainly because Derek Carr right now in their career is better than Flacco is right now in his career. And he has Antonio Brown. And this kid, Josh Jacobs, is like, even if you don't think he's going to be good or you think he's a rookie, he is the only game in town. He's going to get every handoff. He's going to be in on passing downs. You better believe that he's going to get 20, 25 touches every single game. And he's raring to go. So it'll be a tight game, like 23-17.
Okay.
Somewhere in that game, but I definitely think the Raiders are going to do it. It'll be heated. I guarantee you there'll be some pushing and shoving, little scrums here or there, because these two teams hate each other. let's just face it. I mean, but yeah, as long as you're dealing with the Chiefs in that division.
I'm going. The ghost of John Elway will rise out of the field and mangle the inmates. John Elway is still alive, puns. John Elway. But I agree with puns. I'm going Broncos with 20 and Raiders 17. Only because I think the Broncos are at home for this one.
The Raiders are home.
Yeah, they're at home. The Raiders or the Broncos?
Raiders are at home.
Oh, then what the fuck? I hate these pictures. All right, so are they playing in Vegas this year?
No, that's next year.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
this is supposed to be their last year in Oakland.
That's the upcoming mistake we'll talk about. One of our talking points in the future. But yeah, I got the Broncos at 20 and the Raiders at 17. Now, a lot of hype is being thrown out at the Browns this year. Really, because so they went 6-10 last year with Baker Mayfield. They had Odell Beckham. They had Kareem Hunt on the team. All these people.
Well, Kareem Hunt's not going to be playing until after week 7 or 8, so he's a non-factor.
Suspension.
Yeah,
he's crimes and shit.
Well, what happens when you kick women in the head?
Well, yeah, probably. But I want to know from you: do you believe the hype? Do you think this is a playoff-bound Cleveland Browns, or do you think that it's just going to be an 8-8 team?
And that's a hard call.
How is it a hard call? I don't understand.
It's an incredibly hard call because let's really look at their schedule right now. So their first game is against the Titans, right? On the face of that should be a very easy win, right? Week 2 is against the Jets. Doesn't make me happy at all. Considering we have no secondary and they got Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry.
I think the Jets will be fine.
I think the Jets will be fine, but that's a story for another time.
Next week.
So they can easily, and then they roll on week 3 and play the Rams. That's going to be their first big test. Is their defense going to be good enough to hold up? Can their offense keep pace against that McVay offense? Goff just got his $100 million pay raise. We get to see the defense because the Rams defense has changed, right? They've lost some pieces, they gained some pieces. I don't think they're going to lose a step. I still think they're going to be a pretty dominant defense, not as good as they were last year. But and then after that, it's the Ravens, it's the 49ers, Seahawks. Like they can easily be rolling into their bye week 7, at 500 at the very worst. And then after that, it gets tougher. You got to play the Patriots. Broncos, should be a decent test for them. Then they got the Bills. The Bills defense looks scary. And that's why the Jets are playing.
They do. The Bills defense looks very scary.
And the Jets are playing in week 1, which I'm like, of course they fucking are. And it's going to be like 45-0. Like that's going to be just my luck as a Jets fan. They're going to lose to the Bills opening game. And then they go against the Steelers twice. It's like the AFC North, when you get into those division rivalries, especially in the AFC North, it gets nasty. Steelers, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Browns, Ravens. They all hate each other.
Yeah.
And the Browns, Ravens, and people forget about this, is that the Browns are an expansion team because the original Browns were moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens. So there is that special animosity.
I think the new Browns came in around 1999.
I believe so.
Yeah, 1999. This Browns team came in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, they got big rivalries. I just don't look. It's like here's what I think. Yes, there was slight improvement last year, but let's hold off on the playoff-bound Super Bowl Brown. I saw a Cleveland Browns. I called him a Clowns fan. Cleveland Browns fan getting a tattoo that says they're winning the Super Bowl this year. I think at best they go 8-8 or 9-7. Because remember, this is a first year team. They've all been together. They need some chemistry. They need to build some chemistry. Puns for All says it's almost like getting your head scrambled for a decade is almost a bad thing. Yeah, and that was pretty much Cleveland for the past 20 years right now. So yeah, I can understand why they're hoping, but we also haven't seen how the Cleveland Browns react to like injuries, and honestly, we don't know if Odell Beckham is actually as good as people say he is.
We do. We do know.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So here's the one thing that we're about to see that
I think he's very overrated.
This is what we're finally going to be able to see from Odell for the first time in his career, and I think for fantasy wise, it actually bodes poorly for him.
Oh, I'm not drafting him. I'm not drafting him.
No, I'm not
early.
drafting him either. I'm not touching him either. But the point I'm making is that so you got Nick Chubb, right? You got a pretty decent running back. Again, young guy. We don't know exactly what he's going to be in this offense because it's changed. The moment they traded for Odell Beckham, and you have Landry and Odell, and you have David Njoku as your tight end, you better believe this is not a run-first offense. Yeah. This is a pass-first offense, and it's going to be pass-heavy. Jarvis Landry, I think last year was the first year in his NFL career he didn't have 100 catches, and that's without Odell. Now Odell's going to be in there. You're going to have those three big pass-catching targets. Then you got Chubb running out of the backfield. That offense should be potent. And, Odell, I think you're going to see him have a modest year. I don't think you're going to be seeing 1,400, 1,500 yards. I think you're going to see 1,100, 1,200 maybe. You might see 6 or 7 touchdowns because you're going to have to kind of pick your poison. Who are you going to double team, Odell or Landry? You're going to double team Odell. He's still going to make those catches. He's still going to make moves. He's still going to get open. But Landry's going to see the majority of those catches and probably about as many targets as each other, but he'll have more catches. So Odell's going to go down in numbers. But I think his effect just being on the field is more than enough to make that offense pretty damn good. And
go ahead.
Yeah, and I think having less than because that you can win your division with a losing record. We saw that a few years ago.
You can.
With the Seahawks when they rolled in with 7-9 and they won the
7-9.
division. And that's when you had the Marshawn Lynch run against the Saints. That had the seismic event going on, the beast mode.
Fortnite Winner 12 says it will be fun to watch Baker this year in some real games, and I totally agree with that. I just think Odell Beckham. So I had to watch him twice a year for the past couple of years because I live in Dallas, so I had to watch the Cowboy games, and it seemed like ever since that game where Odell did that one-hander, bringing it in for the end zone, the Cowboys had him scouted for every game after that, and the Cowboys would just beat the Giants. It seemed like, they probably lost one here and there, but they contained Odell Beckham ever since that catch. I don't think Odell Beckham is a game changer, as many people think he is. I think, okay, if you've never faced him before and he beats you, you can scout him, you can watch tape, and have him contained by the next game. That's the only problem I see with Odell Beckham. I'd say Jarvis Landry is more of a game changer than Odell Beckham.
See, the thing is that Jarvis Landry is the definition of a possession receiver.
Yeah.
He's the guy that gets you 6, 7, 8, 9 yards, maybe a first down. Odell's the guy that is the playmaker. So the thing is that
I'd rather have the possession guy. Someone I can throw it into in the clutch at 3rd and 7.
Well, but that's the thing is so when the Giants beat the Patriots the first time, what was that, 2007?
David Tyree with the helmet catch?
Yeah, but David Tyree, but he was their 4th wide receiver. That was pure luck. But people forget their receiver, Toomer. Yeah, he's a possession receiver. He was the guy that get you 8, 9 yards.
Amani Toomer?
Monty Toomer.
Yeah.
And that was the thing is you have Plaxico and you have all these other guys later on, but the thing is that you had these, you have to have that guy that can catch the underneath and get you that first down. That's not necessarily going to be running down the field and destroying everything. And that's why Landry, for his first, I think it was his first 4 years in the league, had over 100 catches every single year because he was on the effing Dolphins. And this was a team that was so inept. You have Tannehill, who was so not anymore. He's now the backup to Mariota for in Tennessee. Enjoy that one. But the thing is that he had this quarterback who was inconsistent at best, and he would have to check down. And Landry's a great check down, but I guarantee you right now with Baker Mayfield running that offense on the field with Odell, Landry, Njoku, Higgins, any of these other guys, it's going to be throw often, throw happy. Baker's going to have 35 touchdowns this year.
I definitely think Baker's going to have the amount of touchdowns.
But the thing is that I believe truly that a lot of that's going to have to do with Odell, because you have to double team somebody. You have to bring that safety over to cover somebody, and it's not going to be Landry or Njoku. It's going to free them up. They're going to get all those yards, but Odell will still get his touches. And even I'm trying to look at this right now. Let's see, I think this is last year, maybe. Oh, here we go. So last year he had 77 catches for 1,052 yards and 6 touchdowns, right? That sounds about right for this year. But he was on the effing Giants last year. To think that he could do that with the team he was on, and he can't meet or exceed that on the team he's on now is, it's hard to argue against him having a decent year. I'm not saying he's going to destroy the league and lead the league in receiving yards, but
that's going to be DeAndre Hopkins, baby.
I love me some Hopkins, man.
He doesn't drop a ball.
He never drops the ball. He's a stud. He's been a stud since he's been in the league.
He's had some shitty quarterbacks, and he's still a top 5 receiver every year.
And he was the darling of everyone who ever drafted him in fantasy, just because it didn't matter who threw him the ball.
It's easy for Odell. It's easy for Odell to have the numbers he's put up because he's had a Manning throw to him.
Yeah, no, but that's not the argument. Could be is that you could argue that his numbers are in spite of Manning.
Whatever. I'm an OBJ hater.
As much as I loved watching Eli beat the Patriots and winning Super Bowl MVP twice against the Patriots. You've seen what Daniel Jones did in the preseason. This kid rolled out. Everyone's like, oh, he got drafted way too high. He comes out and he starts shredding defenses. Granted, in the preseason, but it's like, oh my God.
No, Daniel Jones and Eli Manning that quarterback war is still going on. We're gonna be talking in our next news segment. We're probably gonna be talking about the Giants a little bit. Fortnite Winter 12 says Jarvis is gonna see a lot of 1v1 and gonna have a lot more receptions than Odell, and I agree with that. But Chris, What do you think the final overall record? Just call it right now. It's early. What record did the Browns end with this year? Do they go to the playoffs? And what's their record?
I'll tell you right now. I think they're going to have 10 wins.
You think they're going to go 10-6?
I think they'll go 10-6.
Okay, so how deep do they go into the playoffs?
That depends. It really depends on. I really think it depends on who they're playing.
Well, I mean, you got to assume that they're facing the Patriots at some point.
Well, I mean, basically all roads go through Foxborough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that it depends. If they win the division, they have the better enough record to have a first or second seed, and they get their bye week. It depends on who they play. Now, if they roll in and they have to play, because it's not unheard of that you roll into your first game in the playoffs and you're playing somebody from your division. It could easily be playing the Steelers in the second round of the playoffs. Say they have a bye week. They could roll in and play the Steelers. I guarantee you the Steelers are making the playoffs this year as well. They could, and it could be at 9-7. They could even have identical records, and there'll be a tiebreaker, obviously. I don't think they finish worse than 9-7.
Okay.
I think it could be 9-6. 10-6 at best, and 9-7 at worst.
I'm gonna say
their schedule is favorable. Especially open, like just playing some of the teams they're playing, it's like there's no reason they can't. I think they're going to surprise some people. If they can pull it off against the Rams, and they can pull, like they played the Cardinals later on in the year. It's like the Cardinals don't have a defense. Like it's
true.
Especially at the end of the year, like there's no reason you shouldn't be rolling into the playoffs.
I'm gonna go 9-7. I'll say wild card. I'll say at best wild card. But they get eliminated in the wild card. Because I don't see a team jumping from 6-10 to Super Bowl bound. I think they're being overhyped in the media. Um, because like the media will have you think that, oh, this is going to be Cleveland's year. Friggin' no. Friggin' 8,
No.
9, and 7 with a wild card spot. Now,
Yeah, I'm not calling Super Bowl. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm not even saying a deep run. But I don't think they're being overhyped. I think they do have their offense is going to be better than it was last year, and I definitely think that their Odell is not being
hey,
overhyped.
what's
So
going on, Tyler? Up in the Facebook, how's it going, Tyler? Welcome. This is Armchair Gridiron with me, Dan, and Chris, which brings us to our next segment, and then we're gonna do the quick picks of the games throughout the week. We're just gonna pick the winners with little to no analysis. But yesterday or this morning, Ezekiel Elliott signed a 6-year, $90 million contract extension with the Cowboys with $50 million guaranteed. Which, hey, Zeke deserves that money. Zeke deserves that paper. However, hold on. However, look, I'm a Texans fan. I'll say Zeke deserves that. However, Dak is not going to get his $40 million a year, which Dak didn't deserve, and Amari Cooper is not going to get. I don't even know how much Amari Cooper wanted, but Amari Cooper's not going to get whatever he wanted because now the cap is it's got to be close to out right now. They can only probably afford just another player. So Dak or Cooper is going to be out. Now, I think Zeke deserves this money, Chris, because he's finished as one of the top 2 running backs for the past 2. How long has he been in the league? His rookie
3 years.
Yeah.
This
so like in his 3 years, he's been a top running back, top 5, top 3 running back. We're talking rushing. One of those has a rushing title to it.
Yeah, at least one, maybe 2.
He is definitely like 70% of that Cowboys offense. Well, besides Cooper,
until Cooper showed up. Yes, you're right.
Until Cooper showed up, Ezekiel Elliott. Wasn't there like a stat before Cooper showed up that if you gave the ball to Zeke 30 times, the Cowboys won it? You know how insane that is?
You can know, but that's the thing. Like, be careful with stats because you can find stats to support anything you want. Like, you can tell when it's a slow game or it's a boring game or it's a slow day when such and such drops back 2.5 steps, not a full 3 steps, he gets sacked.
That's the thing. They couldn't find a game. They couldn't find a game where they handed it to Zeke 30 times and they lost. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you could find that for Adrian Peterson in the day. You can find that for Barry Sanders in the day. Like, if you get these guys who are obviously very talented running backs, and I'm not saying he's not a stud. I'm saying he's not worth $90 million.
I think he is. I'm not even a Cowboys fan, and it's just like, well, if they don't have him, who do they have?
So here's a fun thing. This is why it's a poor investment.
Go ahead.
So they went and got Lawrence taken care of, right, with this big $100 million contract.
Yes.
So then they went and got Jalen Smith, right, playing really well. Tim. It's like, great, let's go get La'el Collins. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and take care of him. And they're just throwing money at all these pieces. Like, okay, great.
It's Jerry Jones. What do you expect, man?
Yeah, well, there's a reason that the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since, what, 95?
Jerry Jones paid me last week. I don't even...
So here's the thing. And so I've looked at it, and I was waiting for it. Once I saw it actually get confirmed that this is the deal, the 6 year, so on and so forth, it's actually pretty funny. They actually have it written in. I'm looking at the contract details right now.
Okay.
There's actually an out after 2022.
Oh.
They can get out of the contract because the thing is that it's a poor investment because it's running back in the NFL. Unless you're Adrian Peterson, who somehow can still rush for 600, 700 yards at age 34, 35 and maybe score 4 touchdowns. That's still not ideal, but he's a specimen. Like, Adrian Peterson can still play the game at a high level. Larry Fitzgerald is somehow in his 16th year still doing it. He's not getting 1,500 yards.
Look at Tom Brady at quarterback.
Brady. The thing is that Zeke Elliott, you don't get those guys at running back all that often, and to think that Zeke you're gambling on an anomaly. So, and looking at this, so here's the funny thing. So right now, his base salary for this year is $750,000 roughly, and he gets about 6,000 signing bonus, right? So he gets a good bump. So he's making about 8.5 million this year, and then it goes up next year. Like he'll make 19.8, so on and so forth. After 2022 is when all this he gets one more signing bonus in 2023, and then there's no more signing bonuses.
Yeah.
And he starts becoming cheap. So I want to say they front loaded it because his base salary has gone up.
No, they did. No, it was a front load. It was definitely a front end of the deal.
Well, it's not, because so he has about 750,000 as his base right now. He goes up to 6.8 million next year, 9.6 in 2021, 12 in 2022, and then he's flatlining at 11, and then 10, and then in his last 2 years of this contract, it's 15 and a half and 16 and a half.
Yeah.
So he's still, and you're banking on him being in what? He's been in 3 years now. You're going to throw on another 8 years on this. You're telling me that 11-year running back is going to be worth 16.5 million in 2026? Hell no.
Well, there's always contract restructuring when it gets to that point. Fortnite winner says the rest of that division is laughing at this contract, knowing Cowboys are going to suck in the upcoming years. Actually, the only team that has room to laugh right now is the Eagles, because the Giants and the Redskins got to learn to win themselves. Of course, the Giants do have Saquon Barkley, and it won't be long before the Giants start winning. Which, by the way, the Giants and the Cowboys are going to be the season one, the game one opener of the season. I think for the Giants, and I see your point, but we have to get to Zeke's 11th year to know what's going to happen. I think the bigger news, and before we get to the game, the season opening game, I think the bigger news is Dak or Cooper. Which one's going to go? Do they both go? Because now there's no more money. There's no more money to give out to Dak or to give out to Cooper.
So the thing is that when you're a first round draft pick in the NFL, you get a fifth year option.
Yeah.
On the player, right? So Amari Cooper was a first round pick. So they need to take I read this morning in a couple different places. I want to say it's Pro Football Talk and on NFL.com. That Jerry Jones's plan the whole time was take care of Zeke first, then Cooper, then Dak. The problem is that with Dak being taken in the third round, you don't have that option. And if you don't have the money to re-sign him, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Cooper is essentially in a contract year. And he's already dealing with a bit of an injury, his foot injury, that he's still like, oh, he's good to go, but he's having trouble planting his foot. And it's like, so he can run. Yeah. Can he cut? It's like, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you want to give Zeke the ball 30 times in a game, you go right a fucking head. But you really think Gallup is going to step in if something happens to Cooper and become the number one wide receiver? You're smoking some really good stuff.
Now hold on. Now, I don't give the Cowboys a lot of credit, but I think Michael Gallup's actually really good and is a lot better than everyone thinks he is. There's some plays last year that I saw Michael Gallup do that I was like, holy shit. Like, I think that's why, and I'm with Fortnite winner on this, they're going to keep Dak, not Cooper. But I don't think they can give Dak $40 million a year. That's the problem.
Well, yeah.
I think they're going to tug on Dak's heartstrings, keep him for maybe $15 or $20 million a year, and then build up Michael Gallup as a number one, because Michael Gallup can go deep, and he's a great possession receiver.
Be careful with that, because years ago, the Jets thought that Eric Decker was going to be a great number one wide receiver. He definitely wasn't.
Decker.
Welker was not a number one wide receiver. And that's the thing, is that you have to put these guys on teams where they have supporting cast and they have that big bodied on the other side. Because you really think about it, like Amari's not like, he's not Des Bryant.
No, not by any means.
Like Brandon Marshall back in his heyday. That big, tall, lean Plaxico Burress. The guy just puts his hands up and catches the damn ball. Gallup, I'm not saying is not a good player.
Gallup is fast.
He can be fast all you want, but when you start looking at that team and then you go, who's after Gallup?
They also have Randall Cobb now. They have Randall Cobb.
If
Who's going to be their good slot receiver?
Randall Cobb could barely do it his past couple of years with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. He's not going to do it with Dak Prescott. Just sorry.
That's harsh. That's
It's
harsh,
not.
Chris.
It's accurate. It's accurate. If you're going to say that Aaron Rodgers is on the same, that Dak Prescott's on the same.
Oh heavens, no.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So if there's a reason, they're like, because Cobb came out this offseason and was like, well, they gave up on me, and it's like, yeah, because you weren't performing. If you're not catching the balls and you keep getting injured,
you weren't doing anything.
You forget about it. Remember, that's why the Colts moved on from Peyton Manning. It's like, oh, you hurt your neck? It's like, yeah, I can't play this year. They're like,
well, I'm a head on out.
Yeah. Where do you want to go? Denver? Cool. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I agree with Fortnite Winner, because the thing is that even if you, and I, don't get me wrong, Dak is a great starting quarterback in the NFL. He is not superior.
He's not elite. Yeah, he's not elite.
But the thing is that even finding a decent game manager in the NFL is hard to do. And you saw it with the Jets for so long, and obviously the Browns for so long. Finding that talent is hard enough to do. Even finding a little bit of it, you have to dig deep and have to get lucky.
But you don't pay him $40 million a year after 3 years.
And not only that, when you've had very little to show for it.
Very little. I mean, he had a good rookie season. If
they win the Super Bowl this year, he'll get his $40 million.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, then they'll have the money and the funds to do that. But at the same time, he hasn't. I mean, didn't he finish number 17 in quarterbacks, number 16, number 17 last year in quarterbacks? He finished dead center in the quarterback rankings. Speaking of Bryant, he said he wants to make a comeback. I believe he is still on the Saints roster, still a good wide receiver. We're just gonna have to see. Achilles injuries can do a lot to great wide receivers. It wasn't his first one. Yeah, because he was supposed to start with New Orleans last year, Des Bryant, and then at practice got another Achilles injury. I mean, he's still on the Saints roster, I do believe.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now. I think he still is, but...
I think he's still recovering from the Achilles, because wasn't it a torn Achilles? Wasn't it that?
Yeah. It was. I don't even think he played a game. I think it was preseason.
No. I mean, no. He didn't play a game at all. Got hurt first day of practice. But he released videos in the offseason of him making cuts and everything like that. So maybe, I don't know. We're just gonna have to see. But Achilles injuries can slow down the speed of a receiver, and how they cut and how they get around a defensive player. But I hope for the best for Des Bryant, because I always thought he should have stayed on the Cowboys. I don't know what they were thinking releasing him. I didn't think he was a number 1 anymore, but he could have been a phenomenal number 2 or number 3 to keep around. But
yeah,
Jerry Jones, whatever. Speaking of which, the game opener, we'll do the quick picks right now, and we'll just start with the Cowboys and the Giants. I think this is the beginning of the end for Eli Manning. I think they found their quarterback of the future in Daniel Jones. I mean, he's a transplant Manning to begin with. The guy went to Manning football camps.
Yes, he did.
Since he was in high school. He's basically like this cyborg Manning. But I think this is Eli Manning's last year. And I think after this game, that's when the New York fans start asking for Daniel Jones. Because I have the Cowboys beating the Giants at home by multiple touchdowns. I'm gonna go with like 28-7 for this final score. What you think?
I think that's about accurate. There's no way. I mean, the only way the Giants have a shot at this, is if Manning suddenly is revived and he feels young because he feels Daniel Jones nipping on his heels, and Saquon is out there to prove that he is the beast that everyone seems to think he is, and goes off for 200 yards, 250 yards rushing, and 100 yards receiving. Like, it needs to be something spectacular because they don't have wide receivers. Either they're injured or they're suspended.
Yeah.
So
Saquon Barkley can't do it all.
And that's the thing is that you're going to see the Giants try to ball control the hell out of this. The Cowboys offense, especially with Zeke back, is going to be too dynamic. It really depends on what Cooper's able to do. If it turns into a running back battle, it's going to come down to the defense, and Dallas just has a superior defense to whatever the Giants are rolling out right now. I can't even tell you what their defense looks like right now. It's sad.
And like I said, we're gonna Tuesday morning, maybe even Monday morning before the Monday night game. New York fans are gonna be asking for Daniel Jones, and it's gonna take the Giants front office maybe till week 4 or 5. But I do believe Daniel Jones at some point in the season starts ahead of Eli Manning, and then we do the whole. It's almost very similar to Dak Prescott, Tony Romo situation.
Well, yeah, the thing is that the difference is Romo got hurt.
Yeah.
The thing is that when what's his dumbass name, the old coach for the Giants that pulled Eli and broke his consecutive starting streak. It's like you weren't doing any better.
Wasn't that McAfee? No, that wasn't McAfee.
McAdoo.
McAdoo.
Yeah, he started Geno effing Smith. Are you what you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you pull?
But the point is, the decision has been made before. It's come up before.
And that coach got fired for making that decision.
I mean, he got fired for making that decision, but it's not like he didn't have points. It's not like Eli wasn't. It's not like Eli was just crushing it. You know what I mean?
But the thing, and that's the thing, Eli gets, he's one of those guys who really needs that supporting team around him, which is why they took Saquon last year as high as they did, number 2 pick overall, because when you really think about the 2 Super Bowls they won, they had running backs.
Yeah.
They had Jacobs. They had Bradshaw. They had that running game.
I used to have nightmares about Brandon Jacobs.
Jacobs was a beast.
Fucking monster.
He was basically, think Derrick Henry, except on a better team.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. So they went and got Saquon, and things they just don't have wide receivers. So that's why I really think they're going to have a poor year. They're going to lose vast majority of their games. I don't think it's a stretch to think they're going to be picking first overall in the draft next year.
Yeah.
They're going to try to trade out because everyone's always going to need a quarterback. They're going to take wide receivers. They're going to take that kid Judy out of Alabama. They're going to rebuild that offense, but sadly Manning will no longer be on the team, and that's going to be Daniel Jones growing with Saquon, Judy, and whatever else they're going to be rolling out on that offense.
And then Eli goes to a team that's needed a quarterback for a while.
No, he retires.
Oh, he retires?
He retires.
I'd say one more year. More year with the Colts. He goes to the Colts for a year.
They just did an extension for Jacoby Brissett for $30 million. They're not going to sign.
They're going to regret that this season. They're going to regret that immediately.
I don't know. Brissett, we've never had a chance to see what Brissett can do.
We've seen him in 10 games, and it's not great. We've seen him.
No, I agree. So that's the thing. So we haven't had a chance to see him with the team he's on now because remember, Andrew Luck is back. He came back last year, comeback player of the year, the whole 9 yards. So right now, this team was built. They actually have a defense.
I love how Andrew Luck came back and left. That was fun. That's funny to me.
I don't blame him, man.
I don't blame him either. It's just funny. Comeback player of the year. All right, I'm out.
Came back, left again.
Thank you for this. I gotta bounce.
Goodbye. Neckbeard out.
Neckbeard out, and then they boo him. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's go around the league right now. Rams at Carolina Panthers. Who do you got?
I mean, that's got to be the Rams.
I'm going with the Rams as well.
I don't think Cam Newton's fully healthy yet. McCaffrey's going to have a good game, but I think the Rams offense is all cylinders, and I think they win it.
The Rams are salty about what happened in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I think the Rams win this. I think by 10 points.
10 points. We don't have to go with the scores on this one. Just like
I think they'll win comfortably, but not easily.
Tennessee at Cleveland.
I mean, that's Cleveland all the way, man.
Yeah, I think Marcus Mariota is overrated, so I'm going to go with Cleveland on you.
Yeah, he won't be on the Titans next year.
Okay, so this one's funny. Well, okay, so this is all dependent on just how Nick Foles clicks with Jacksonville. But we have Kansas City at Jacksonville.
So
we haven't really talked about this.
Yeah.
Do you think Nick Foles will be the thing that takes Jacksonville to its greatness that it had a couple years ago.
The 1 year they had with Bortles when he didn't.
When he wasn't fucking up. But we can all agree. We can all agree that that the system in there works if they have a good quarterback, or the quarterback's just not fucking up.
Well, more than anything else. So the year that, if I'm trying to remember the connection correctly, I believe I have it right. When as they called him affectionately in Philadelphia, Big Dick Nick rolls in and wins that Super Bowl for the Eagles. The offensive coordinator is now the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
he rolls into the Jacksonville Jaguars offense already knowing what he's supposed to do and what he's going to do. And this is the guy that took him to that point, that coached him up and got to that point. Obviously, Peterson's obviously a great coach, great head coach, offensive coordinator. Come on, you can't ask for a better fit. Coughlin is the president of the Jaguars. He's the one that's running that show right now. You better believe that the Jaguars are going to be competitive this year. A lot of people have them going really deep in the playoffs. I don't know what the Chiefs' running game is going to be like.
It's true.
Jalen Ramsey is still the Jaguars' number one cornerback.
Exactly. Yep.
I don't think he's going to take Tyreek Hill out of the game. It's going to be a great matchup. It's going to come down to who wants it more. I think.
See you later, King Retro. Thanks for coming in and thanks for hosting. Glad you enjoyed the Armchair Gridiron show. We'll be back next week. And Fortnite winner says, "Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry."
No, you're good. It's going to be a tight game, but I think Kansas City pulls it off, but not by much.
Fortnite winner says, "Foles ain't a crazy upgrade from Bortles. Still going to be the same team." I think Blake Bortles is like the worst quarterback I've ever seen now. I think Blake Bortles is like so terrible. Like, I would be an upgrade from Blake Bortles. And I'm like 5'0", okay? No, but they do have Jalen Ramsey, and they do have the same, they have the Eagles offensive coordinator, or now working for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will be different. I at least think they're going to beat the Texans once this year.
Possible.
This Kansas City game is going to be a big test. They have the home field advantage, but it's going to be a test for the Jaguars. I'm going to say Jacksonville by 3.
It's like it could happen. I definitely could see it happening. I have no idea what Kansas City's running game is going to look like. So we won about Williams. Some people think he's going to be a stud and he's going to fit right in. LaShawn McCoy shows up, and Andy Reid's all like, "Hey, we got LaShawn McCoy," and it's like, yeah, you got whoever it is, 34-year-old LaShawn McCoy. It's like, be careful. Like, he's going to catch some passes, but they're not Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And likewise with the Jaguars, you got Fournette, who apparently lost like 20 pounds and like he's now pure muscle and he's ready to tear it up, but.
Fortnite winners laughing at us. Don't get ahead of yourself. I don't know. I'm not going to sleep on a Nick Foles-led Jaguars. I will definitely sleep on a Blake Bortles-led Jaguars. But I'm not going to sleep on it. Because, I slept on Nick Foles when he took over Carson Wentz. And then that motherfucker ended up winning a Super Bowl. And I'm never sleeping on him anymore.
People they don't want to believe it. But that's the thing, is that Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Kerry Collins almost won a Super Bowl with the Giants. Like
Trent Dilfer won a fucking Super Bowl.
And that's the thing, is that you don't need to have an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And Foles is not an elite quarterback, but if you have a coach who can get the most out of a player, look at Alex Smith, and when he was with the 49ers, he sucked.
Yeah.
And then he ended up on the Chiefs, and all of a sudden, hey, let me coach you up. Let me show you how to do this. He becomes one of the best game managers. He's never going to light it up and tear up the world, but he's going to win you some games.
At least he was. He was. And then he went to didn't he go to Washington and then his leg? Was that? Yeah.
Yep.
Poor guy. Baltimore at Miami.
Oh, God. Miami's a mess right now.
I'm going Baltimore.
Yeah, you have to, just mainly because they got Ingram on there. They got Lamar Jackson, obviously, in the second year. He's still going to be running like a maniac. I don't think it'll be an overly high-scoring affair because both teams are kind of wanting in the wide receiving core. The Dolphins' first-year head coach is a defensive-minded head coach. It's got to be the Ravens, and I'm going to say by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay.
And that could be 14-0. Like it could be a shutout.
Fortnite winner. Eagles had a solid D line and defense all around. If anything's Jack's D will carry that team. Oh, we're not saying it won't. We're not saying that the offense is going to be like superior on the Jaguars. But it's not. It's going to be less terrible with Nick Foles. And then the Jacksonville Jaguar D is going to be a good defense to match with it. They're at least going to beat for me, they're at least going to beat the Texans like once, I think. Now, do I think that they're going to go to the Super Bowl? Oh, heavens, no. But I think they'll be slightly better in the Nick Foles era than they will be the Blake Bortles era.
I agree.
Atlanta at Minnesota.
That's going to be a good one. I think that really hinges on both the running backs, on Devonta Freeman, and
Freeman's coming back from injury.
He's coming back from injury. Dalvin Cook came back from injury from 2 years ago. Had a hammy issue last year. It took him out for like 3 or 4 games, but was studly. So it depends on what the running games are able to do this year. Julio's supposed to be coming out. There's a contract dispute. He's going to play. He trusts them, so that's not an issue. You're going to see some high-flying antics between Julio, Calvin Ridley, and Mohamed Sanu. Then you got Thielen, Diggs. They just signed Josh Doxson. Not that he's a stud by any stretch of the imagination, but he's played with Kirk Cousins when they were both in Washington. So I think it's going to be a decently high-scoring affair. I have to give this one to the Falcons just because it's Julio.
I gotta give it to the Falcons too.
Yeah, it's they're an equally matched team. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it'll be high scoring.
This is a 1 p.m. game in the daytime. I feel like if it was nighttime, Minnesota, I would give it to Minnesota if it was a nighttime game at home. But Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and then Freeman coming back is hard to go against.
Yep. And that's very potent offense, and it's going to be. Don't be surprised if Julio leads the league in receiving yards this year.
I won't be. It'll be amazing at his age, but I won't be surprised because he does it all the time. Yep. Buffalo, here you go. Buffalo at New York Jets. Now you said Buffalo had a great defense. This is a big division rivalry. You know what? I'm going with New York Jets because you sold me on Sam Darnold, and they got what's his fucking name? The running back. We're gonna finally see
Le'Veon Bell.
The running back, Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, we're gonna see him finally in action. That's gonna be a great. I'm going with New York. I'm gonna go with New York on this. If you go with Buffalo, I'm gonna fucking say take that Gotham City football shirt off.
No, well, here's the thing. So the matches the past few years have been great. It's been back and forth. We usually split them. The Bills have the tendency can embarrass us, and they have definitely over the past few years. Josh Allen is a turnover machine.
Mm-hmm.
He is, and that's the thing. Like people really thought the year before, that we were going to take Josh Allen in the draft, and I'm like, hell no. We're not. There's no way, shape, or form they're going to take this guy who is considered a developmental quarterback, who is a big-bodied. I'm going to run the moment I get scared.
Oh, Fortnite winner 12. Thank you for the follow and putting David Bowie in my ears. Hold on, just 1 second. We'll wait for the David Bowie to quit. I totally forgot I have David Bowie in the alerts. Hold on, he'll stop in a second. Thank you for the follow, Fortnite winner. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
So and that's the thing with that. Darnold's cleaned it up. He's now, for the first time in a very, very long time, the Jets have an offensive-minded head coach. This was also, Gase was the offensive coordinator with the Broncos when Manning threw over 50 touchdowns in that season. He's finally got a better quarterback than Tannehill. Everyone's healthy. And you got Le'Veon Bell. I want to pick the Jets. I'm going to pick the Jets.
You're going to pick the Jets.
I'm going to pick it. It's going to be a 7-point win. They're playing at home, and more than anything else, it's a rivalry, and we did beat them in the last time. The last time we saw them last year, we beat them pretty convincingly. I think it's going to be a turnover battle. It could be decently high scoring, but I think the Jets pull it off.
I think we're going to see the return of Le'Veon Bell. We're going to see that he hasn't lost a step. At least I hope so for your sake.
There's some predictions that he's going to score like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's been waiting for it. And I'm like, listen, you go right ahead, Lev. Do it.
Well, it's not like he's been sitting on his couch or anything. When he signed with the Jets, he took the whole preseason training and going to the practices and all that. Next game, Redskins at Eagles. I'm going Eagles with that.
Yeah, the Redskins are a hot mess right now. I mean, supposedly Gruden came out and said that, Jay Gruden came out and said that the offense is going to be going through Darius Geis, or Geis, however you want to say his name. And the thing is that, you say that for a kid coming off of a injury that took him out of all last year. Adrian Peterson is still on that team. Not that, he's going to be the game changer that he is. Name one wide receiver on that team. You can't.
When Alex Smith went down with his leg, that's when this team just started collapsing.
Well, and you
can trace it back to that.
Yeah, when you roll in, you take Dwayne Haskins in the draft, and everyone's going, "Oh, this is the future," and then Keenum beats him out in the preseason. You're like, "Oh shit!"
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is the Eagles, and I think they run away with it. I think it's a stomping.
Next game. Speaking of stompings. Colts at LA Chargers. I got the Chargers on this. Don't stop with the Jacoby Brissett. I know you want Jacoby Brissett to be good, but he's not going to be good.
That's not where I was going at all.
Okay, I'm sorry.
These teams are actually very evenly matched now that Melvin Gordon is not playing.
And that's another thing. When's Melvin Gordon coming back in?
He's not.
I
think he's sitting out the whole year because the Chargers basically came out.
Did I lose you, Chris?
Huh?
Oh, are you still there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You're just frozen on. There we go. All right. It lagged for a little bit. Repeat what you just said.
Yeah, no. The Chargers brass came out and said that they're suspending the talks until after the 2019 season. So he's not getting a deal, and he's going to sit out like Le'Veon. So you're going to be going in with Josh Jackson and Eckler as your running backs, and that's basically when you look at the. You have to give the edge to Marlon Mack and what's his name? Hines. Don't quote me on this. The two running backs for the Colts.
Ketchup?
The two running backs for the Colts are slightly better than the two running backs for the Chargers. Wide receivers, you got to give the edge to the Chargers. You got to give the QB edge to the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be that much of a slaughter.
You got Joey Bosa. You got Bosa.
But I'm picking the Colts.
What? You got Bosa on the Chargers. I can't even think of anybody on the Colts.
I'm picking the Colts. The Colts are going to win an upset.
I'm picking the Chargers. Okay, that's your upset. There could be an upset in Week 1.
There's going to be a couple.
Cincinnati in Seattle.
Yeah. That's Seahawks all the way.
Yeah, Seahawks.
The Bengals are as first-year head coach. AJ Green's out again. Now Tyler Boyd looks great. He did very well last year, stepping in as wide receiver 1. You are still struggling for your identity. Joe Mixon is your stud right now at running back, and he is a stud. Andy Dalton has never been a wow quarterback. The only time he is when AJ Green's in there.
Yeah.
Their defense is not what it used to be. But the Seahawks have been nothing but consistent. I think I saw something today that over the past 5 years, they've never finished worse than 9-7 or something along the lines. It's got to be Seahawks all the way, and I think it'll be pretty bad.
Yeah,
I think it'll be an embarrassing game.
It's gonna be a stomping. Detroit at Arizona. I'm going with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals on this home game. If there's any team that you want to face game 1 in your rookie season, it's going to be the Detroit Lions. Because I don't... Are the Detroit Lions even a threat to anybody?
So...
Who do they have?
Well, Stafford's still their quarterback.
Stafford's still there?
Yeah, they got Galloway as their number 1 wide receiver. They actually signed C.J. Anderson this offseason. I'm trying to...
Oh, but they're still the Lions.
So the thing is, and that's the thing right now is that they got Kerryon Johnson, C.J. Anderson. They got some decent running backs. Um, the thing is that their head coach is Matt Patricia, right? Longtime Patriot as a coordinator. And the one thing you have to realize is that when you get a defensive-minded head coach, they long for a rookie quarterback to come in there because Patricia is going to confuse the hell out of him. He's gonna get scared. He's gonna scramble. He's gonna make mistakes. I think the Lions win this. Because right now, the Cardinals don't have a defense. They have Terrell Suggs, fine. They have Patrick Peterson, fine. That's about all they got on defense. They don't have the offensive weaponry. They used to have that David Johnson. That's it. And if you're asking David Johnson to carry that offense, it's going to fail. There are just more weapons on the Lions, both offensively and defensively. So I think the Lions pull this off.
I'm gonna say Arizona because I like rooting for a rookie quarterback, and I got nothing against Arizona.
Don't get me wrong. Neither do I, and I would love to see them win. I want to see Kyler Murray do well, but I don't.
And he's a short guy, and I'm all for short guys making it in the NFL. Last final game, San Francisco. I guess it's the toilet bowl. San Francisco at Tampa Bay.
It's not really the toilet bowl because Garoppolo's back finally. He had that one rough preseason game in which he was just he had he was 0 for 5 and 2 interceptions or something stupid in his 3 series he was in there. Then he came back out and rocked it. He's rusty. He hadn't played in over a year. They got all their wide receivers back. Everyone's healthy. They're a little iffy at running back. Don't forget Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians is their head coach. Todd Bowles is their defensive coordinator. That team is back from the Arizona Cardinals now in Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston is not a bad quarterback.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay just because they have home field advantage.
They got home field advantage, but you got to remember too. They got Mike Evans, a beast of a wide receiver, and they now have an offensive-minded guru running that team. And Todd Bowles' best days were when he was the defensive coordinator under Arians, and I think that comes back. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay on this one.
Tampa Bay. So that concludes our picks. We did the rundown just for shits and giggles. Let's make an early Super Bowl prediction.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Early Super Bowl prediction since we're leading into week 1, and we'll come back and visit this at week 16 or whatever. But if the Super Bowl started after week 1, not who wins it, who's in it? Who is in it? Early Super Bowl picks for your AFC and NFC teams.
God.
You don't want to say the Patriots, but you want to say the Patriots.
No, I don't want to say the Patriots. I have to say the Patriots. And you're right. You said it before. It's at what point in time do you just accept the fact it's going to happen?
You just got to pick them by default. Yeah.
Yeah. It's every time you think they're not going to, there you go. So if not the Patriots, and that's the thing, if not the Patriots, I could very easily see the Steelers pulling it off, the Chiefs pulling it off. Those would be my two fallbacks.
The Steelers and the Chiefs?
Yeah. I think that would be an intriguing AFC Championship game. Okay. I would love to see that game. And it really, the Chiefs are going to go as far as Mahomes takes them. And true enough, this year, the Steelers are going to go as far as Roethlisberger takes them.
NFC.
Oh God, I'm not high on the Bears. I'm not. People are.
I'd give it to the Cowboys at this point.
See, I'm trying to avoid setting up my hell scenario.
Where it's Patriots Cowboys.
Yeah, because this is what happens. You get Patriots Cowboys. This is what's going to happen outside of praying for a plane crash. Sorry, didn't mean to put that juju out there. But the thing is that so I either get to watch the Patriots win their 7th and be alone as the greatest franchise of all time, or I get to watch the Cowboys join the Patriots and the Steelers as having 6 championships. And
that's not as bad. That's not as bad.
It's still pretty bad because then 2 of the teams I hate the most are 2 of the best all time.
Yeah.
It makes me want
they did have Roger Staubach. Fuck them, right?
Staubach.
And then Troy Aikman. Fuck them, right? I mean, those were the good Cowboy eras. Pre-Jerry Jones, I feel, was the good Cowboy eras. Well, not pre-Jerry Jones, but like when Jerry Jones was just first taking it over.
Yeah, like early Jerry Jones.
Early Jerry Jones is fine, and pre-Jerry Jones is fine.
So, and I think the NFC is hard because I mean, yeah, the Cowboys are playoff bound like right now before even playing a game. As long as everyone stays healthy, the Cowboys are going to the playoffs. They're going to win that division.
Yeah.
People have the Eagles taking that division over the Cowboys, which I think is wishful thinking.
Zeke's healthy. Everyone's healthy on the Cowboys squad.
And the thing is, I think the thing with the Eagles, the reason people are high on the Eagles is because they have some unknown pieces like Miles Sanders, the running back, so on and so forth. They could end up having a pretty damn good running game. And people forget a couple years ago when Foles took over for Wentz was leading the MVP. Like he was dominating at the position. So if he can get back to that form and get back to playing at that MVP caliber, he's going to make that offense.
Yeah.
And if you can get the offense humming, they could easily take the division and they could roll into the NFC Championship game. I still think the Cowboys are going deep. It's hard. I mean, the Saints, I want the Saints to go. I think Drew Brees deserves another Super Bowl.
I'm actually saying for my Super Bowl pick, Patriots Rams. It's gonna be a repeat.
See, I don't think the Rams are gonna get back there.
I think they still got Todd Gurley, still got Goff, still got everybody.
The thing is that Gurley, the biggest issue now is that as much as they say that that's not the case, Gurley is wearing down. He has his arthritic knees. He's got issues. He's going to be on a pitch count, essentially. So he's not going to be carrying 20, 25 times every single game because he just can't.
Yeah.
So they got the guy, Darrell Henderson, in the draft this year. I think it was the third round. That's going to be his primary backup now. CJ Anderson's gone. So that's going to be who's going to be sprinkled in. It depends on what he does. Goff just got his payday. But it's going to be they got Cooper Kupp back. We don't know what he's going to be able to do. Kupp. So you got Kupp, Woods, and Cooks. You have a hell of an offense. We don't quite know what the defense is going to be. We don't quite know what the running game is going to be. I think, though, they could win their division. They could go into the playoffs. They could go deep in the playoffs. I don't know if they make it back to the Super Bowl.
Well, we're just going to have to see. Now, tomorrow is our league draft. I don't know if we'll be able to get through with you with webcam, but we can definitely do Discord chat and do audio, but that's tomorrow. And we'll be back here next week after week 1 to make some week 2 predictions. I don't know if it's going to be on a Wednesday. It may be on Tuesday or Thursday, but this concludes the first episode of Armchair Gridiron Podcast with me, Dan Danzy, Chris Malone. Want to thank Fortnite winner for the follow. Thanks for coming on in and being part of the community. King Retro Queen Paris for the sharing and the hosting and coming on in. Puns coming in, making us laugh. Everybody on Facebook. And if we missed you on YouTube, our apologies. I don't think we missed anybody on YouTube. But thank you guys so much for coming in. We're going to end stream right now. Join us next week for Armchair Gridiron Podcast, Episode 2, Week 2. And join us tomorrow for the Gridiron Mafia live draft. For Armchair Gridiron Podcast, I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
See you guys later.